There is now a high-level inquiry with officials of the Cabinet Secretariat, Intelligence Bureau and the Special Protection Group probing breach in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's security. India Today has accessed 3 letters where top officials of the Punjab police were talking about the security threat and the roadblock. Top government sources have told India Today that a dry run, a rehearsal was done on the eve of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit with the ASL or the Advanced Security Liaison team in Punjab. Why was the Prime Minister's route not completely sanitized even after that? Manjeet Sehgal brings you a top story.
The breach in Prime Minister's security has led to a full-blown war between the centre and the Congress government in Punjab. The centre has blamed Punjab police for the lapses, even as the Channi government pointed fingers at the SPG. And amid this blame game, India Today has accessed letters and alerts that were sent to the Punjab police days before the Prime Minister's visit. The letters reveal that the Punjab police were warned about roadblocks by farmers. Punjab police were also asked to make necessary traffic diversion plans in advance for the Prime Minister's hassle-free travel. The alerts also mentioned that the VIPs may take the road to reach their destination. This is in complete contrast to what the Punjab government has claimed. Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi said that the decision of the Prime Minister to go by road to Martyrs Memorial was taken at the last minute, and the Punjab police was informed after the Prime Minister's security abandoned the idea of taking a helicopter to Ferozepur.
पहले रात को मुझे अमित शाह जी का टेलीफोन आया कि जी वहाँ रोड पे प्रदर्शनकारी बैठे हैं। प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने तो बाई एयर जाना था, वो रैली वाले जो रैली में जा रहे थे लोग उनको रोकने के लिए बैठे थे। अगले दिन प्रधानमंत्री जी हेलीकॉप्टर पे जाने वाले थे। किसी को क्या पता था कि हमने उसके लिए रोड रोकना है, प्रोग्राम ही नहीं था। लास्ट मोमेंट पे उतरकर प्रोग्राम बना के अब गाड़ी में जाएंगे।
But sources say a contingency rehearsal for the road journey from Bhatinda to Ferozepur was carried out on the eve of Modi's visit. They say during the advanced security liaison, a contingency plan for the road journey from Bhatinda to Ferozepur was discussed in detail with the Punjab administration. The issue of security breach has now reached the Supreme Court, which is likely to take up the matter on Friday. As politics built up on the incident, Congress leader Manish Tiwari asked for a thorough probe into the matter.
If there has been a security breach, the entire chain of circumstances, the entire chain of events as they unfolded from Bhatinda Airport till that Ferozepur flyover need to be ascertained. It needs to be gone into. And those who are responsible for this breach, they must be held accountable, because ultimately this is not a subject of a political football. This concerns the security of the Prime Minister.
The Punjab government has also constituted a high-level committee to probe the matter. The committee comprises of retired Justice Mehtab Singh Gill, Principal Secretary, Home Affairs and Justice Anurag Verma. Did Punjab police ignore warnings and alerts? Who was responsible for the lapses in Prime Minister's security? A thorough, impartial investigation may well bring out the truth. Bureau Report, India Today.
The fact that there was a security breach has been established. The fact that the Prime Minister was stranded on a flyover for over 20 minutes and that his route was not sanitized is now known. But there are claims and there are counterclaims. Was the Prime Minister's life endangered by willful security breach in Punjab? What are claims? What are facts? Let's now get you details here on India Today. What are the claims that are being made? Let me now first get you claims that are being made. The claim is that Punjab government or the Punjab police, they were not informed about this road journey. What is it that top government sources are telling India Today? Top government sources are telling India Today that the ASL, the Special Protection Group's Advanced Security Liaison team, they interacted with the Punjab administration on the 1st of January. On the 2nd of January, a contingency plan for a road journey was not just discussed, but a dry run was done on the 4th of January. So why was the Chief Minister then, was he not aware of it? That's question one. Question two, it's being said that there was a sudden change in the Prime Minister's plan. Sudden change, why? Because of inclement weather. Punjab police was not aware that he would travel by road. Well, what was the ASL and the Punjab police doing? And there are letters that talk about a road route, incidentally. We'll show you those letters. Now, the director of the Special Protection Group, the director of SPG, he had a discussion with the DGP of Punjab. The road journey was planned only after getting a clearance from the DGP of Punjab, is what top government sources are telling India Today. In fact, we are being told that the senior superintendent of Bathinda Police, he piloted the motorcade from Bathinda to Ferozepur. Then a claim being made is that Punjab police wasn't aware that there was a threat to the Prime Minister in Punjab. And can you even think that's possible? What's a fact? Multiple communications with the Punjab police about securing roads for the Prime Minister's visit. Now, there are several internal communications that speak of even dharnas and roadblocks and alternate routes being made available. The SPG, the claim that is also being made is that it is the responsibility of the Special Protection Group alone to secure the Prime Minister. But what does the Blue Book say? The Blue Book very clearly states that while the SPG will protect the Prime Minister, it is the responsibility, not a request, the responsibility of the state government to provide overall security arrangements, to look after the Prime Minister. That is what the Blue Book very clearly says. It's an act of Parliament which mandates who will do what and what will the responsibility of the state DGP and the police and the administration be. It is also being claimed that Punjab government and the police did a proper job in terms of providing security. But when you look at those images of the Prime Minister stranded for over 20 minutes or for close to 20 minutes, were they doing their job properly? It is also now being said, and this will come out in the inquiry, that the control room, Punjab Police control room, it failed to inform the pilot vehicle of the Prime Minister's motorcade about protesters being in front, about the road being blocked, about that despite the RTL, ready to leave, and the Prime Minister was ready to leave and he travelled considerable distance. This was virtually at the fag end of the journey. He wasn't in his cavalcade, wasn't informed that there was a blockade, and this is where another problem arose. The Chief Secretary and the DGP, they not only did not join the motorcade, they were not available. They were not available on phone, is what is being said. Of course, all of this is a matter of inquiry. These facts will emerge when that inquiry is conducted. The inquiry by the Punjab government and now, of course, the inquiry by the Ministry of Home Affairs. But let me now take this question to our guests on the show. And this is a very serious thing. Remember, India's lost a Prime Minister in office. India's lost a former Prime Minister to terror. And yet there is sadly ugly politics over this massive breach in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's security. It's a very, very sensitive issue. This happened in a very sensitive border state. Joining me on India First is Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Sardar R.P. Singh represents the Bhartiya Janata Party. And for a security perspective, I have Vikram Singh, former Director General of the Uttar Pradesh Police, joining me on the broadcast. Aishwarya Mahadev, Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi showed documents to indicate he had no idea about a road journey from Bathinda to Ferozepur. The ASL team, the SPG and the Punjab police actually had done a dry run on the 4th of January, a day before the Prime Minister's visit. Ma'am, was the Chief Minister unaware or economical with the truth?
Good evening, Gaurav. I think first and foremost, this is obviously a matter of grave concern, and it is a matter that will be probed at the state level and the central level. And I believe a blame will be apportioned as the people that stand accused are also and the investigation takes place. Gaurav, in terms of the statement that you're making, Mr. Channi in his press conference when he came out made something very clear, and I'm pretty certain that the SPG also has several routes and several possibilities. This was not the route that he may or may not have known, and at the end of the day, whether you look at it, when you talk about Mr. Channi not knowing this, what had happened, the SPG also had the opportunity to turn back. But Gaurav, I think the larger speculation should be left also to the adequate authorities. But the one thing I want to point out here, Gaurav, is, first and foremost, the fact remains that the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister for all of us. It is of grave concern. The Congress party has seen Prime Ministers being assassinated. And the most unfortunate fallout of all of this, and your show has been very responsible in the reporting, the biggest unfortunate fallout of this has been this idea that we endangered, or the Congress government in Punjab endangered the life of the Prime Minister, and it is very insulting. And even though the cavalcade was far away, more than a mile away from these peaceful protesters, and it's not the first time that this has happened to Prime Minister Modi, who was stuck in peak traffic in Delhi, who was stuck in, without security in Uttar Pradesh. This statement about how we endangered his life goes against that very crux that we're all Indians that do care for the Prime Minister.
Let me take this to RP Singh. Chief
extremely
Minister Channi says that, Sir, you've heard what Congress party is saying. You heard the Chief Minister. You've heard Aishwarya Mahadev. They're saying there was no threat to the Prime Minister's life. Congress is accusing the BJP of politicizing the Prime Minister's security for political gains in poll-bound Punjab.
Gaurav, thank you for inviting me for your show. I'm hopeful that the lady will hear me out and not interrupt. I didn't interrupt her. She said peaceful protesters. The same peaceful protester who slaughtered a person at Singhu border. Same peaceful protesters, no else. The same peaceful protesters who ripped away the clothes of a MLA in Abhor some time back. These are peaceful protesters. So what peaceful, we all know. What sort of security threat there is, we all know. But Channi ji is on record, the CM Channi ji is on record, saying that I was there at the on that road part till 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to look into the security affair. And next day he says, I didn't know that Prime Minister will come by road. As a basic rule, you also know, you would know that there are always an alternate route. Even if you are coming by a chopper or aeroplane, there are alternate routes which are kept between the airport and the point of the rally or point of the venue where the event has to happen. Generally, 3 routes are conducted there. And one is escape route other than the 3 routes. Then there are safe houses on the way. And there is letters on record, there are documents on record which proves, yes, it was told much before the event that there can be eventuality. Please take care of it. Secondly, Channi Saab was absent. His DGP was absent. Chief Secretary was absent to receive the Chief Prime Minister and come along with him to the airport.
So you are saying that this was a sinister conspiracy. I'll come to that aspect. So quickly, 30 seconds, because let's keep this conversational. There are multiple points to take in a short period.
Just 5 seconds.
Go on, sir.
5 seconds. So Chief Minister says that there was someone who had COVID in my team, so I didn't turn up. But the same time when the Prime Minister's office was calling Channi Saab for 20 minutes, he was, please check on this. He was giving interview to a TV channel. And then
I'll get Aishwarya Mahadev to respond to that. But Vikram Singh, as a former DGP, sir, away from the politics, as a former top cop, was there a breach in the Prime Minister's security in your appreciation? Was the Prime Minister of India vulnerable for 20 minutes on a flyover with vehicles and protesters blocking his cavalcade? And sir, is this acceptable?
Mr. Rahul, I would say that if there is a trophy for the most shoddy VIP arrangements I have seen in 36 of my career and in my life, it will go to this visit of the Prime Minister yesterday. Take the rule book, all rules were torn to shreds and in tatters, clause by clause and page by page. The absence of the DGP and the absence of the Chief Secretary, and to say that there were peaceful agitators. Peaceful agitators don't block the way and the passage of the Prime Minister. And to say that the SPG is responsible for the overall security, nothing could be more bizarre and absurd. You are replacing the CRPC, the BSF. Somebody is saying the BSF is responsible. I really don't know where these fanciful fairy tale ideas come into the minds of those who want to bring in score brownie points. Then coming to the fact, agitators. The PM was blocked for 20 minutes on the flyover, 20 kilometers from Pakistan border, and in 20 minutes, 1200 seconds, a grenade takes 36 seconds to blast off, a sniper takes a kilometer to take a range through a telescopic sight, and a Colt Cobra take a sight from 25 yards. And the agitators, 8 of them, were in the proximity of 8 feet. What more hazard would you expect? And to top it all, it is said the Prime Minister was not attacked. What do you mean? The law says that I have a pistol and I fire. I don't injure the person, but the crime has been committed by me because I take a shot, even if it does not result in any injury to the person. The damage is done and the crime has happened.
And he's the Prime Minister of this country. The Prime Minister of this country. Yes. This is how shoddy Aishwarya Mahadev. I mean, you've heard a former DGP. You've heard 27 top former IPS officers, including a former DGP of Punjab, who've written a letter to the President of India seeking action for what they have called, and if I quote, planned security lapse by Punjab government. They have accused the Punjab government of being a hand in glove with these so-called protesters.
You know, Gaurav, I really would like to believe that after the investigation, we will apportion blame, and I'm not going to sit and listen here while you see that a legitimately elected democratic government of a state is seen as conspiring against its own prime minister, and the fact that the people from the prime minister's party are going to almost paint the people of a state as being against the nation as a whole. And you know, when the BJP representative talks about peaceful protesters, sir, yes, that entire 111-kilometer stretch had not only had Mr. Channi try and disperse people there, because protesters and farmers are still sitting there. You know why? Because of the fact that your Minister of State for Home Affairs, his son, seemed to have run down farmers, that you haven't seen any compensation.
So then they'll block the Prime Minister's cavalcade, violate the Blue Book. I'm on the very serious issue of security of the Prime Minister of this country. I mean, it's not about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You may or you may not like him. You may or you may not vote for him. But he's the Prime Minister of this country. And the Channi government permitted protesters on the road.
Gaurav, let me complete, right? I absolutely agree that he's the Prime Minister of the country, and the incident that has happened is unfortunate, that the fact that his motorcade had to be stopped for 15 minutes, though there was an opportunity for the SPG to automatically reverse in that instance, which they didn't do. One. Second is that they were over a kilometer away while this dispersion...
Were they over a kilometer away? Were they over a kilometer away? On what basis are you saying? Because his cavalcade is crossing those people. Somebody could have a pistol, somebody could have had a weapon.
When I say your channel itself ran these visuals.
Yes, and we are still running them. We are still running them.
Close by there. So that also seeks to ask the question, is that if BJP supporters were close by, you know, also praising Narendra Modi, was there really that much of a threat? Or was this also a ploy? Because the Ferozepur rally where you claimed 5 lakh people would turn up didn't see more than 5,000. Was it also a pre-planned strategy to stagger the Prime Minister's arrival there in order to see more people coming in? And once that did not happen, you went back. Because remember this, he could have still addressed the rally. It couldn't have been a threat, because when he was in Jim Corbett shooting for something, inclement weather stopped him from traveling. He did a rally via phone. He was stuck for more than 3 instances in Uttar Pradesh, all around with people. He didn't claim that Yogi Adityanath had endangered his life. The same thing happened to him in Delhi. The fact of the matter is, it also happened to him. Remember, even in poll-bound West Bengal, where you saw black flags being waved, you did not see an instance of where the Prime Minister said, my life was under grave threat, while you did not perceivably see anybody coming that close or proximate.
Respond, RP Singh, where is the evidence of collusion between the Punjab police, government and those who blocked the road? An inquiry has been ordered. The Congress says BJP is jumping the gun to blame a democratically elected Charanjit Singh Channi government of Punjab.
No, it's a matter of time. He'll be out. I mean, just a matter of 2 months. People are going to throw them out. But let's talk the issue. There's a gentleman named Charanjit Singh for BKU. He said, police told us that this is the route of the Prime Minister. After they have sent back after the Prime Minister has gone back, the police was enjoying the tea with the same agitators. But it's clear connivance. I mean, why will a BKU leader come on record and say that police told us? So police was working on whose instruction? Obviously the Home Minister of the state or the Chief Minister of State. And on whose suggestions the Home Minister of State or Chief Minister are working? They are working at the dictate of the center, the leaders here in the center. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka, what I'm saying on record. And the threat to the Prime Minister was so high that he was hardly 30 kilometers, 35 kilometers away from the border. 35 kilometers away from the border.
Dr. Vikram Singh, Dr. Vikram Singh, sir, that's a serious charge you are leveling Sardar RP Singh. You are blaming the Congress Party central leadership. You are blaming Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. Again, on what basis, on what evidence? And I'll just come on that aspect. But Dr. Vikram Singh, if the advanced security liaison team and the Punjab police did a dry run on the 4th of January on the route, what does a dry run mean? What does the ASL do? You've seen the letters of Punjab Police ADGP talking about the threat, the protest. Can the Punjab Police still say that they were caught flat-footed? Or in your appreciation, is there merit in the BJP saying there is complicity? They, of course, blame the political leadership of the state. And RP Singh, of course, blames...
Gauravji, I would say it is carelessness of the worst kind. The DGP not going there, the Chief Secretary not going there is the cavalier attitude and the contempt in which they hold a Prime Minister's visit, number one. Number two, a dry run is supposed to be a rehearsal, and a rehearsal is also videographed. And I think either tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you will get hold of that video of the dry run and also the lessons drawn during the dry run and the things that need to be reinforced. Everything is by the book, everything is videographed. There's nothing that is left to chance. Police and politics are way apart. They are poles apart. Police leave nothing to chance and nothing to providence. They do their homework very, very assiduously, enhance the hazards multiple times so that they are never caught on the wrong foot. And if they have been caught on the wrong foot, I have my own reservations. Punjab police is the best police force in the country, and I dare say one of the best in the world also. To expect this kind, so a serial topper to come out with 0 and 0 in all the papers is most unconvincing and unnatural, to say the least. Gauravji,
So
I know you also hold the Punjab police.
I have seen Punjab
in the
police in
highest
action,
esteem.
maximum respect for Punjab police, and that's exactly why it is very surprising. This is the police that has defeated terror. This is the police that is also combating drugs in the state. But then, are there black sheep or is there complicity as is being alleged? Aishwarya Mahadev, I have last 30 seconds. Why was the pilot vehicle not informed about protesters on the road? This is a very, very serious lapse, ma'am.
I completely agree with the former DGP when he says that the Punjab police has always carried out their duty with the utmost responsibility. And I think absolutely we will agree when the investigation lays out blame and apportions blame, we will stand by it. But Gaurav, it's a bit rich coming from Mr. RP Singh talking about, so close to the border when the Prime Minister himself is known to make unscheduled stops into the country at the border that he's talking about. But Gaurav, the singular fact is this. Let us wait for the investigation before you apportion blame on the forces and everybody else. Even if there was prior warning or not, sanitization failures or not, I think it is shameful that the BJP would politicize it to almost look like this was an attempt on the life of the Prime Minister.
And that is where this becomes extremely, extremely serious.
It almost came to the life of the Prime Minister.
The expert says it almost came to the life of the Prime Minister. And that is why he's Prime Minister of India. Security is and has to be sacrosanct. I've run out of time on this part of the show, sir, but we will track the story very closely. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. A quick break. Abha Bakaya comes up next with Business Today.